Hi, welcome back. Today we're going to take a look on how we can upload files from a Power App into a SharePoint document library. But sometimes you want to do a little bit more than that. Sometimes you want to get rid of your folder system that you're currently using probably and start using a metadata system where you populate metadata for each file and then you can filter based on that. Let's take a look on how we can do that from Power Apps and with help of simple but useful Power Automate flow. Stick around, give a thumbs up if you like the video, and make sure to subscribe. So let's begin with creating a document library first of all, because we need a place where we are going to upload our documents. For that, I will go to Site Contents here in my test SharePoint site, and I will create a document library, name it Demo App. And yeah, let's show it in navigation, why not? Select Create. And now we have here by default the name and modified by. I will go on and remove these columns or hide them since I don't want them now to be in my first view. And I will leave the name as it is. I will create one new column and we'll call this request ID. And I will show you how you can create and how you can generate like a GUID ID for each request so that you have always like a new ID generated. And I will leave this as a single line of text since it will just be like one line of numbers and letters. Select Save. Then next I want to have another single line of text, and this will be the requests. Here the user will write why is he requesting something. I don't know, doesn't matter. I'm just referring to one project that I had before, so I'm using that terminology, but you can reimagine this the way you need it. On that project it was about uploading an Excel file, and then the user who uploaded the file was requesting a bunch of guest users to be added in the Active Directory. So we had like the name of the file and then the request ID that was generated, and then you had the request. So the user will write, I'm requesting guest users for XYZ customer, and so on and so forth. So that will be also a single line of text since it will be a manual input from the user. Then we had a persons column, which was the requestor. So who is requesting the new guest users? This will be a person or group, and everything else we'll leave it as default. And then we can have another one which will be a choice. This one will be from the approver, and this will be the status of the request. Now we'll have like a new one which will be the standard. Then we will have an approved, and one which is declined. And by default will be always new. So let's select Save, and that's enough for now. I mean, you can use as many metadata as you like, but let's keep it simple for this demonstration. Okay, so we have our document library running. Now what we need to do next is jump to Power Apps and start building our simple upload app. Okay, so now we have our Canvas app editor open. And I will not do a lot of pretty stuff here. I will concentrate on the functionality of what I want to show you. But first of all, I want to change this background since it's hurting my eyes a little bit. Sorry for the German. It's because I work in Germany as well. But if you have any questions of what buttons I clicked, feel free to put them in the comments, and I will make sure that you get the English translation if you need it. So. Anyways, continuing, and I will want to customize one more thing. Since it is something I really like to do, is I always like to put a header where at the top of my application. Yeah, I think this, I don't know, looks like 1,000 times better than it used to look like 10 seconds ago with that plain white screen. So what we are going to do next is we are going to put our columns together. As you can see here, name, request ID, request, and so on. The name we're not going to use it from from Power Apps. This will be put together by request ID and the requestor or request. Maybe we can decide, or you can use like multiple columns and put them together in Power Automate so that you can have them in your name. The name also has the extension like .pdf or so on. It depends on the document. So this is the one, which will distinguish your documents as well. So we need a request ID, request, and the requester, and the status will be then by default will be changed then by the approver. So those three, and also we need our attachment, which is not by default there. We will take a look now on how we can put that into our Power App. So let's begin with a request ID, and that will need like a label. So let's put a label over here and name it request ID. And then I will put text input, which will then be in view mode. And I don't want to say that over there, but by default, I wanted to use the function GUID. So this one will generate like a default GUID for each request that is being submitted. Okay, next is the request. We want the user to be able to input his request. So let's put that over there. Right. Request. And let's copy and paste that text input over here. Remove that. And this should be in edit mode, so that the user can write something in there. Next we have the requestor, which is a person speaker. Let's put over there our label, requestor. And this one will be a combo box. So to use the combo box and be able to pick people out of it, we need to connect to the data source, which is called Office. Not there, sorry. Here, Office 365 users. So now that we have connected to the data source, we can then go back to our control, and usually it pops up here, over there, exactly. And then select dot search user, then the search term, and the search term will come from our control here, which is the combo box want search text. Sorry, close the curly brackets and the normal brackets, and then we should be good to go. Let's make sure that we have the search enabled over there and disable the multi-choice, which you can do here, by the way. The first one is disable or enable multi-choice, and the second one is enable or disable search in a combo box. So now we can go on and search for my surname. Oh, I know what we did wrong. So we are searching by display name, but the data showing here is not display name. This looks like locations. So let's go here in the fields and edit that. And instead of city, we want to have the primary text be the display name, and the search field search also after the display name. This is a common mistake. People always forget, me included, as you noticed. So keep in mind, after putting the data source, you also need to change the primary text that the combo box is showing and the search field that will validate then your search. So let's give it another try. And now we should be able to see some people name, and Enea, that's my name. Very good. Okay. We didn't create much more columns, didn't we? Yeah, the status will be by default new, and then we need the attachment, of course. No? As you know, in Power Apps, there is no way to attach a document in a control, so that control is not there by default yet, which is a big bummer, to be honest, because that's something so necessary, and I hope Microsoft will come up with a solution really soon. But what we can do to overcome that issue is we can input an edit form, which we do here in the forms, and we need to connect to a SharePoint list. Let's take a look to that now, and let's search for SharePoint. I'm in the wrong place again. Here, SharePoint. And I will go on and connect to one of these SharePoint lists of mine. This one over there. And this should enable us our attachment control, which is over here. So if we take a look here now on the forms, inside we have all these data cards, and the last one is the attachment data card. So what I usually do is I go in here, cut this and paste it somewhere here. So this is now completely separated from the edit form. You can see it also here. This is the form and this is our attachment data card value. So what I do next is I go on and delete this form since I don't need it. And we need to do some modifications here, but bear with me a second. Make it at least a little bit prettier. And I want to put a label here as well. And I want to call this attach file here. Spell it right. And let's fix the issues here. It's looking for the parent, of course, not finding any parents. That's why it is complaining. Let's delete all of that and leave it by default. So now it's not complaining anymore, at least. And what we can do with this control is on the right-hand side, you can see the maximum allowed items to upload. In this scenario, we will only allow one item. So I will change that to 1. And the second control is the maximum allowed size of the file. In Power Apps, currently the maximum allowed size is 50 megabytes. So I will go on and use that as well. Maybe users might have like a big Excel file or a big PDF file with a lot of pictures in it. And they should be able to upload it as well. Why not? But there again, I hope Microsoft will increase that, since nowadays 50 MB is not very much. And in the future, if you want to also be able to upload like images, 50 MB is nothing. For professionals with a professional camera, 50 MB it's even too small for phones today, maybe. Anyways, another subject for another day. So we have now our control here, and if we test it, we should be able to, yeah, as you can see here, we receive our control to upload a file, which works as it should. Perfect. What we want to do next is, after filling out the metadata, we want the application to upload the file. Currently, I haven't found a solution how to patch a file directly to SharePoint. So what we do is we use a Power Automate flow to do that, and we pass the data, the file content to Power Automate, and Power Automate creates then that file in our document library. Before we do that, we need a button so that we can send that data to Power Automate. Now let's put it here. And let's rename it upload. Yeah, put the label here, central, let's make it 18, and demo app, demo upload docs app. I don't know, let's name it something like that. And make it white. and make it semi-bold. Yeah. Good. Now let's jump to Power Automate. And let's create a new insert cloud flow, and let's name this flow create file flow, and we will going to use the Power Apps control, but the new one, Power Apps v2. So let's create, and here we can now use the inputs. So first of all, we need to pass the file contents. This one we'll use that over there. Then we have the request ID, which will be a text file content. Let's rename this to request ID. Then we can pass the requestor. Then we have the request. I don't know why let's call this request. And then the requestor. Requestor. Yeah. And then the file will come from here. Okay, that's it. That's all we need for our demonstration. Next, we're going to create a file. Create file. Not the OneDrive for Business one, but the SharePoint one. So the site address will be my demo site address. The folder path will be the one we just created. Demo app. I think it's called demo app, right? Yeah, demo app. And the file name will be a combination of the request ID dash requestor, so that we can filter on that later on. And the file content will come from the file content from Power Apps. So this will create our file in the documents library. But since we have some metadata, so this one here, we need to update those as well, because the file will be created and will only have the name. No? As you can see here, the file name. You cannot populate the metadata here, unfortunately. Actually, I hope Microsoft will change this, because it's very easy when you create a file and you choose a folder path to get that metadata that's already been created here. It's actually the same like a SharePoint list. When you create a file, when you create an item in a SharePoint list and you select the SharePoint list, it brings you all those columns, right, from the SharePoint list. But when you do it for a document library, it doesn't populate that. So, which is pretty annoying, and hopefully this will change in the future. But for now, we can create another action here, update file properties, and then go back to my SharePoint site again, the library name, which was demo app, and the ID is the one from the created file item ID. And now, as you can see, when you want to update file properties, we can see here our metadata. We have the title, the request ID, request from the user, request or claim, status, and description. So I don't think that we are using the title, so let's leave it empty. The request ID will be coming from Power Apps, and it's called request ID. The request will come also from Power Apps. The request or claims will also come from Power Apps, requestor. And the status value will be always new. So let's save that. And give it a test. So let's play this. The request will be demo request 1. I'm the requester. Okay, so this is now saved. Let's give it a test. But before we do that, we need to connect, of course, to our Power Automate flow. And to do so, make sure that you select the upload button, because this will now trigger the automation. And when it says on select, remove the faults or leave it, it will be removed anyways. And go to the action section, and here you have Power Automate. This now will load the flows that are in your tenant and are related to Power Apps. And that's the one we just created, create file flow. This will now be placed in here. Get rid of that. And if you hold here with your cursor, you can see here text, text 1, text 2, and so on. And text is the request ID. We can see that from here, request ID. So request ID will come from this one, text input 1. So let's write text input 1 dot text. So that's the first one. The text underscore 1 is a request. That's this one over here. This is text input 1. I didn't even rename the labels and the text inputs, I'm sorry, but you should do it better. Text input 1 dot text. Next one is the requestor. So the requestor is expecting the claim, so the email address. So for that reason, we will write here combo box 1 dot selected dot, and then we need to pass the mail. And then last but not least, we need to pass the file. So the file is expecting the record, as you can see here. So let's give it a try with that one. Let's search for our data card value dot attachments dot value. Let's see if that will work. It's complaining. Let's say. So it says that it's expecting a type record, and we are passing a type of table. So that will not work. That will not work. Let's see what else is in here. Not very much, because all of that is like visuals. The only thing we need here is the attachments. And after that we have name, which will also not help us. Let's see. No, it's not helping us further. What we want to do here, we want to pass the content bytes. The content bytes is what the machine sees from that file, right? What we see is what Excel or Word applications translate from that content bytes language to a human language, or the human understandable language. But the machine doesn't need that. The machine needs the machine language. So we can give that to it by transforming the file into a content byte, or getting the content bytes from that file and passing it to the machine, so that you can then create the file based on that, what's inside that content byte, and then we can use our applications to translate it into human understandable language. So content bytes, colon, then we write first data card value 17 that attachments, and then value. Next we want to give it also the name, which will be first data card value 17 dot attachments dot name. Now closing the curly brackets, and let's give it a go. So select play, demo request 1 already written. Let's go here, upload a file, financial sample. And now it says here the maximum amount of documents has been reached, because we only allow 1. And he's also said that it hasn't been saved yet. Let's make sure that our flow is running. Okay, let's show that again. Select upload. And take a look here, it has failed. So after some troubleshooting, I found the mistake, and yeah, so let's go back to the application here in the, let's rename this upload. I have to delete it a couple of times so that the button, so to test the functionality again. But as you can see here, I forgot one item, and it says here file. It's also expecting file, semicolon, file colon record. So what you need to do is, after putting the first, this one is the first one, come on, the first one, second one, third one, the fourth one is file that colon record. So here, put the file, open the curly brackets, and then put the content bytes and the name. And then you close the curly brackets for the file, then you close it for this, for the item, for the file content, for the total, and then you close the run, the Power Automate run. Okay, so I still need to recreate the metadata one. I had to delete it and recreate the flow, so bear with me 1 second. So now let's go back to the application. I've already uploaded here one financial sample Excel file, and let's select upload. Let's take a look. 4 seconds ago, and let's go to my demo app in a second, in the demo app library. So this is the create file action, this is the update properties. And let's refresh the library, and as you can see here, we now have the financial sample with the metadata that we inputted in the Power App. As you can see here, it's not showing the icon because we might have to swap this. Let's give it another try. In Power Automate, let's edit, create file, let's bring the request ID here, and then the file name so that it has the extension. Let's save it and test it with the one just succeeded. Okay, let's take a look now. And as you can see, now we have the icon as well, because SharePoint is recognizing at the end the extension .xlsx. Yeah, so that's it, folks. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up and make sure to subscribe to the channel. The second part of this video, we will see how we can extract the data from that Excel file and put it into a SharePoint list, for example, so that you can do further cool stuff with that information. So anyways, catch you in the next one. Take care. Bye.